Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? Hello, hello, welcome. Alex Bakesh on the cello. Everyone? Thank you. And Diane Legg on the piano. This is 4 p.m. Welcome to 4 p.m. If you haven't been here before, my name is Dean Stevenson and I've been here for quite some time. Welcome to Mona for those who are also here for the first time at Mona. Today, this is an installation about the process of making things. Not necessarily the finishing of things, although we will try and finish something today. It's about watching something being made, as you've seen Chris at the end of the room with his watercolours, as you might have heard Ben Salter sing downstairs, making songs all day. It's important for us and I suppose Mona to put on display the act, not just of making, but the courage it takes to make. I'm not calling myself courageous at all, but to make something unique. And if you're afraid to make a mistake, you'll never come up with anything original. So courageousness and curiosity leads to creativity. So the curiosity to know what's ahead, and I call it the kind of the horizontal and vertical work. So just go as horizontal, make as many mistakes and go for as long as I can before kind of going back and, if you like, checking your grammar. Let's use that as a metaphor. Because as soon as you write one sentence and go straight back to the start to check your grammar, you're already screwed because you start to doubt yourself already. And probably all of us here are children of a school system that stigmatised all the mistakes we made. So here I am at 4 p.m. trying to prove that I can at least get through something every day. Whether it's a full thing, whether it needs a lot of work or a bit of work, who knows? We're about to find out because none of us really know what it's going to sound like yet. This process right now with Alex and Diane, we're about to start working through today's piece. Now normally you see lots of empty seats. Normally there is a string quartet, but today for only the third time in this whole installation do I have the joy of writing a duo rather than a quartet. Now those of you who think it was only 2 instead of 4 should be easier, let me explain. A string quartet, as you will hear mostly the string instruments, the cello, viola and 2 violins, play one note at a time, most of the time. So there's 4 parts. As you're probably aware, most pianists have 10 fucking fingers. So there's already a lot more notes to do right there before I even think about what the cello might be doing. So I'm not a piano player at all, not at all. I sit there and I push notes into it, but then I write them on the page. But if I sat there where Diane is and tried to play what I wrote today, I'd be here until next week trying to play that because I don't have that skill at all, not even close. So it's been a bit of a challenge, it always is, but I've really embraced it. So let's hear what happens with this duo. This is day 198. So on Monday, it'll be 200 days of me sat at the piano here in Mona writing a brand new piece every day from scratch. It's a blank page when the doors open at 10 o'clock in the morning, and then I do what I do, and here we are. So we're about to hear this 198th piece written, and the second duo for this weekend. So, what's to say? Before you ask what was my inspiration today, didn't have any. Nothing. Tumbleweeds. Nothing at all. All I probably had was a slight rhythmic thing that I might have brought over from the other day. That's it. So it starts with the cello doing some what you just heard before, a cello solo before the piano comes in. So let's hear the intro again with Alex. Before you go on, 2 things. So when you get that yada, that's kind of a little bit of signature bar that keeps coming back. So hold that as the kind of the key one that keeps returning. So that's the development bar. In the second bar, tie those semiquavers. Ya ya da dum. Yeah, please. Yeah. Okay. From A or wherever you like. that bartender triple stops, really dig into them, give them great big chunk. Yes, that's it. Yeah. Make them ugly.
Keep going.
Yep. Move from there, from A again.
Yeah.
Go on the before the triple stops, just that the quaver, the junk.
Yep.
Actually, those ones as well.
Sure.
Nice and loud. Cool. If anybody has any questions I'd like to ask, we'll come to you in a second to see if there's anything that you want to know about anything that's going on here. Let's make this as informal as we can. This is called a rehearsal for those who haven't seen a rehearsal before. Your ticket normally gets you the show, which means you don't see all this stuff, but this is what happens. From B?
Yep.
Yep. So especially from D, feel the intensity grow, really dig in as loud as you like, and then dig crescendo into E. So big crescendo, the whole thing of D. One thing I was going to say, with the first bar of D, the little triplet, let's show that one as well.
From D. Is
Yeah.
that what you mean? From D?
From B.
B, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, let's slow on the triplet.
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah, and D, D. You can kind of dig that kind of that
Crazy.
bottom drone as much as the thing called a double stop, which you can hear there's two notes going at once. Who plays guitar in the room? Guitars have a flat neck, which is why you have these bar chords. Your hand goes flat across the bar. You can play all the strings at once. The neck of these instruments, cello, violin and such, are rounded, and you play with a bow, which means that when you put there, you don't touch all the strings at once. So you can only touch a couple of strings at one time, usually playing only two notes at once, or going zig-a-ding and hit three, but never really three at once. So to have one drone note and play another one's quite a challenging thing.
Yeah.
Where would you like to go from?
Maybe from C?
From D?
Yep.
Yep.
Too much? No, all good.
Great, so let's go from F again and feel that kind of with the those little brace notes really go.
Do you want me to retake?
Yeah, retake would be great. Yeah, and then just before G, kind of it says mezzo piano, so it's intense, but back a little bit because we want. I'll try that as a note. It might not work.
No, it sounds
And then feel the relief when the piano kind of comes in and just fills out the bottom end with those lovely chords. And maybe a touch quicker on that tempo of G.
Sure.
So from F. Signature bar key, yep, you're shorter on those C's.
More short?
D, yeah, short, thank you. Lovely. I wonder if from G to I we might actually take it quite a bit quicker.
Yep, sure.
1, 2, 3, 4, ya. Yeah. Has anybody got any questions or something you'd like to ask or say? If you say anything that you don't understand, say, what do you do? Most of the terms are in Italian, which we read, which you can say, oh, accelerando. It's the fancy word for speed up, dickhead. That's all it is. That's all it is. It's just funny. These fancy words that make us sound much more educated than we really are. And the reason why it takes a lot of time when we have these with pencils is, for those who haven't done a lot of music, I mean, we've all done a bit of high school music, I'm sure, at some point. As you know, all the words in a book, in text, in English or any language, the word has a prosody. So it has the word like bounce or smack or punch. You read that and you punch, smack, bounce. So you know what's happening when you read that word. The word itself gives you the information and the energy. The notes alone don't. It's just a pitch, that's all it is. It's one bit of information. There's all this other stuff around to tell you how loud, how fast, what texture to give it, who's playing what at what time. There's so much information around every single note, and that's what all the rehearsals and the pencil markings are about. I had a lovely man a couple of days ago who said, who asked the piano player, why is she writing music on things on your music? No, she's ruining your music. No, actually, she's making it better, much, much better. Where would you like to go from?
It's from G?
From G?
Yep.
Okay. at that other bit then?
Yep.
Before we go on any further. Has anybody got any questions I'd like to ask? Anything? Yes, sir? What's my favourite curry? Butter chicken. Butter chicken. Thanks. Good one. Thank you. Should we go from L? So K. Actually, K. Another K. E, 4. Before we go any further, hold there. At O, we'll get the tempo up. Accelerando. Yes, yes, yes. So we'll go from letter M, please. Just the piano letter, figure N for Nelly.
M.
E, 4. Here we go. And that's the last bar of the piece. So now we know what it goes like. Thank you. Okay. You have a question, sir? They start reading it. We've never seen it before. This piece was written today. So they start reading it for the first time. It's remarkable, isn't it? All those notes. All those notes. And so now, because we've read through all of the notes, we'll make some more notes with our pen. And then we'll run it again. We'll run it from end to end so you can hear the whole piece as an arc. And as we get more and more familiar with it, that's what rehearsal's all about. Do you have any questions? Yes, I think I'm having trouble hearing the cello from over there. Maybe I should come out here. You've been down a bit? Yeah.
Maybe the stand's blocking the sound.
Oh. How about you? Can you hear everything okay? It is acoustic, nothing's amplified, by the way. It's all acoustic instruments. Yeah, all good? Okay. Anything that I've written that needs attention? Any questions from you guys?
Some of those triple stops are a bit hard to do quickly as triple stops just because they're too long.
Yes. Yes, okay. Okay. I think, yeah, spread it out once you can. Also, think it as gritty, I think, as you can. Don't be afraid if they're people gritty. Yeah, okay. All right, Diane? Yeah? Okay, good. Oh. How are you? Okay? A composer's job, or a songwriter's job, or a writer's job of any description is to come up with some, like a character, which in my case is a melody, or a couple of characters. So, you know, Luke and Leia, I might have a couple of melodies in my piece. And if all you see is one character, or hear one melody, or you only see one person on screen the whole time, the maker's job is so you don't get sick of that character. You don't hear it repeated too much. You don't feel like you've learnt all that you can about that character or that melody. Because if you do, you'll just tune out, and we want you to stay engaged for as long as our art lasts for. So the idea is to try and make it so as, you know, the fall happens at the right point, or that the reveal happens at the right point, so you don't get disinterested. But also, with a piece like this, which is probably called a fantasy more than a piece, might be one movement of a whole suite. It's called a fantasy because it doesn't necessarily lock into conventional forms. It's a bit dreamy. So to have something that doesn't have like a kind of a rock solid, you know, bass drums kind of centre, which we're very accustomed to having and hearing and seeing these days, is more and more of a challenge, because we want assurance that something's really locked in. Because as soon as something becomes sort of ungrounded or unsafe, we're less likely to give that thing time. So our job is to try and push it out so we all feel safe. I mean, music never killed anyone, but safe so we don't get sick of it or I feel unsafe just for long enough. And so that was my challenge today, with something that's a bit kind of nebulous, but to have it interesting and doesn't give everything away, but also doesn't give too much. It's a weird balance. It's a weird balance. All right? Yeah. Any questions from anybody? Yes. Yep. Good question. The question was, it's a challenge to write for something that I'm unfamiliar with, the piano as a performance, as a kind of a centrepiece of it, but also is it different to write between the interaction of a duo rather than a quartet? It really is. The places where the cello stops and the piano will take a bit of the cello's melody and kind of champion it over here before giving it back. So the spotlight tends to move from one to the other. So when you hear the cello kind of right up high in that high revving area, you know the piano's kind of back in the background deliberately. But then there's some points where Alex will just play a nice long note to give a bit of a rest. And also then, the tension's over here. So balancing that's really interesting as well, to making sure that kind of game of volleyball makes good sense and everyone gets a fair go. Yes, good question. Okay, so we hear this piece from start to give it all you can, lots of energy.
Yeah.
Here we go, 197. cello, and Diane on piano. Amazing. Wow. So, what did we learn? I don't know.
Cool. It's hard.
It's hard, yeah. We've got time to do one more, do it again as well. Now we kind of know how it goes. Is it okay? I've still got rubber on your fingers. Good,
Yeah.
good. Any questions from anybody?
Yeah.
Oh yes. Yeah. Yeah, it goes in a box. Yeah, they all go in a box. Good question. The art of letting go is really interesting because that's part of the process of getting through it. If I thought I had to keep everything, then it would have to be to my standard of keeping. When I use music as my example for this. We all listen to a lot of music when we're really young, and so at a very early age, because of what we hear and because of our parents and around us, we get really good taste really early on. So we know what sucks and we know what's good, and then there's our opinions. So when you pick up an instrument for the first time, or a chisel or a hammer or a pencil or whatever art form you choose, and you make that first mark, and instantly it's not Bach, it's not Picasso, and it's like, oh, this is awful. And so that's the moment where you either go, fuck it, I'm going to the or I'm going to play my cards instead, or not continue, or you'll go, I'm going to keep going until it either gets as good as my taste says is what is good, or I don't care anymore. So if I had to keep everything and make it right, then that would be a nightmare for me. So I have to just let it go and fill the box. Sometimes the lightning does strike because the more you do something, the better you get. So sometimes it does, and we recorded some stuff. There's a download you can buy from me. There's like 16 tracks I'll download if you accept of a score, or even a CD for those who still have CD. The cassette's coming, kids, don't worry, the cassette's coming. The download as well. So sometimes it's good. We recorded some that were really quite special from the first 150, but otherwise they just go in a box. But the special day's Monday, where we play the whole weekend's stuff, really. That's what we tend to do here. It's like a whole suite.
What software do you use to write with?
The software is called Staff Pad. Yeah, which is good because it's like pen, kind of an organic feel. Yes.
You have so much noise, so much interruption. I noticed that you use
I do, yeah, earplugs, yes.
vibrations and other energies that come out of this art space.
I wear the noise cancelling headphones during the day because, as you've just said, it's a noisy room. So I need to kind of focus on what I'm doing ahead. Yeah, sometimes people get really close next to me and say, "Excuse me, can I interrupt you?" Oh, well, you just did. You know. Too late, buddy. I tend not to be a barometer for the museum now, because once I kind of want my noise cancelling headphones in and focus, the barometer is just me. Yeah, which tends to be, you know, how I woke up, or how much I had to imbibe last night, or whatever. So it's mostly me. But the trick is if I mind, like I did the first 150, I mind myself very deeply every day, thinking it was important to put myself on the page every day. In the end, it utterly broke me, because some days it just has to be craft. It just has to be trade. If you put yourself out there every single day, then you empty the cup and you've got to fill the cup with stuff. So there's an important point where, as I said, the more you do it, the better you get. So let the skill do the work. And then eventually you'll just be doing trade for hours and hours and hours, and suddenly, bang, I've made a house, and now I've suddenly got the art, the inspiration to decorate the hell out of it. So some days it's just about giving the trade its worth and doing that as well. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very, very much. Yeah, that because the communication of the music, i.e. enough bars have passed by of the piano it needs to hand back. I mightn't feel like that phrase is complete yet, so I have to either go, do I contrive the music to make the piano have more to say, or do I finish the phrase and give it back to the cello because enough time has passed? So there's an interesting balance. The same with having a conversation with someone. When you really want to interrupt with someone because they're talking shit, you go, oh no, I have to give them their time. You know, it's that same balance, but it's just me on the page all day long. Yeah.
Performance satisfaction, aside from learning something the first time,
Yeah.
what's the transition to then knowing it? I know it's very brief, moment in time. What's the difference between that first making the sound actually to getting to the end?
Is that a question for everyone, perhaps? Yeah, the question for me as a composer is great because I don't have, I will never be able to play this piece myself. So I have to kind of surrender it and allow that my learning to be almost external and come back into my ears. So it comes from me but back into my ears, not into my hands, which is a weird kind of, it doesn't do the full circle really. It's a kind of a stops halfway around or something like that. So it's an odd learning for me.
Yeah.
But I suppose if I can paraphrase something musicians have said, the learning of doing it, they never rehearse in front of people. So public rehearsal is quite an interesting thing as well, get another level of pressure. Yeah.
Yeah. It's quite a scary prospect, I guess, because you're so used to rehearsing and practicing and then putting out a finished product, same as what Dean's been saying the whole time. You have to kind of let yourself go and just say, this is what I'm doing today. It's quite nice. Yeah. I've enjoyed it. Yeah.
Should we play one more time? Yeah, let's go again.
Thank you very much, Alex and Diane. My name's Dave.